going to invite one of the alumni. He's one of the alumni, I believe, the first people that we did support through the Land Accelerator. So I'm going to invite Rigu, who is a Kenyan, running a company called Safi Organics. He has been in the business for a while. He has a very good story that has been featured globally. Recently, I saw him being featured by the Reuters media, BBC as well, and we have done with him a podcast. So Rigu, happy to see you, and yeah, feel free to share your journey and also to share about your product. And after that, we're going to have Q&A. So welcome, Samuel.
My pleasure, Samuel. It's very exciting again to be here and to tell our story. It has always been a pleasure from the support that we have received from WRI as well as the Land Accelerator. It has always been really, really appreciated, and the media coverage has always been key. But let's just think about it. When I was growing up, though when I was young, my mom could leave me when she's tilling land. She could leave me on the trench as she was doing her work and I was playing with soil. And interestingly, I used to eat quite a lot of that soil. So I don't know if people have had the experience, but the question I would ask today is, would you, as either as a parent or as a brother or sister, allow your sibling to eat the soil in your farm? This definitely, the answer for most of us is a no, because the soil is really, really poisoned. So as a matter of fact, our soils have been really poisoned by chemicals because we are using chemicals day in, day out. And at the same time, we are depleting the nutrients from the soil. Because when we harvest, we take everything that we have harvested from the farm and take it away. So Safi Organics comes in to make fertilizer more efficiently using technology because we realized that farmers are actually paying 2 to 5 times the world fertilizer prices. And what is worse is that these farmers can barely afford these fertilizers. And even what they can afford is the cheapest of those fertilizers that in the long run have actually a negative impact on the soil. So we have seen that up and beyond the fact that the fertilizers are expensive, these farmers are also prone to fluctuation of prices. Just to give an example, earlier this year, Russia decided to attack Ukraine. It was just a war of Russia and Ukraine. But guess what? A farmer in Kenya is paying double the price he was paying for the fertilizer, because then the fertilizer was about $35 per 50 kg bag. Today it's $70. So this is something that we need to release the farmers from these chains. So Safi Organics was started actually to use technology, both software and hardware, to decentralize and small-scale fertilizer production within local villages, making it possible for the first time to produce fertilizers using local labor and resources, because we use mainly the biomass. And at the same time, we can tailor-make, using our technology, we can tailor-make these fertilizers to fit the soils. Because we know most of the African soils are actually acidified. About 56% of our soils are acidified. So we need soils we need inputs that counteract that acidity. So we started off in 2015, though before 2015, we had tried different things like making briquettes and also making mosquito coils with biomass. However, those two are not a success. So we went back to the farm. And because my background is in agribusiness management, we were able to develop a soil amender. We started with a soil amender. Then in 2016, farmers kept asking us, do we have to buy your product and then go buy fertilizer again? So that is the point where we decided, can we invest in research and development? At least we see if we can come up with a product. And by end of 2016, we had a product, a planting fertilizer. And later we came up with a top dressing fertilizer. And in 2020, we did have a foliar feed. However, we realized that we are just telling farmers, use fertilizers in your farm, but what quantities do you actually need? We have the blanket, like for every acre on a good soil, we need 200 kilograms. So we are recommending 200 kilograms for every farmer. But some soils are depleted, others are not. So we came up with a soil testing service to allow these farmers to test their soil, and then we can make actual recommendations of the fertilizers that they need in their farms. So currently we have about 10,000 farmers. Mainly we work with smallholder farmers. We have about 10,000 farmers, smallholder farmers who we are working with. And interestingly, what we have seen is that our fertilizers help these farmers increase their yield by up to 27%. And this is enough money for a farmer like Mr. Kibushi to take 2 of his children to school. And up and beyond that, because for us, what we do, we convert the biomass. Instead of composting, what is usually the normal thing, we pass it through heat to produce what we call the biochar. And now the biochar forms the basis of our fertilizer. So now we mix it with special recipes. We add to the biochar, making a complete fertilizer. Now, one advantage of biochar is that it sequesters 1.7 tons of CO2 for every ton that is used in the farm. So as an added advantage, our product is in a position to sequester CO2, making the environment or making it better and reducing the impact of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. So how are we able in a community, because biomass is, number one, is diverse. Biomass, we know it's not in one location. How have we been in a position to overcome that? And currently we are doing, in our production facility, we are doing about 7 tons every single day. So how are we able to do this, this very successfully? So what we realized, one of the biggest problem is actually converting, getting this biomass and converting it into a fertilizer base. That was the biggest bottleneck for us. So what we decided to do, we decided to work with local youth groups. So we get these youth groups, we train them how to use our technology. We provide them with our technology, and then they do the correction of the raw material, they do the conversion, and then they bring us now the biochar that is of standard, because it has to pass through all the standards. And then we pay them for that. We are actually working with about 9 youth groups, and this has really been a success, creating indirect income for about 42 youths in our local community. So we did break even in 2018. So we can say the business has been a success. And currently we are working on expansion and looking at our expansion model, where we are looking at setting up these production units in different villages, and then getting people in those villages to own or to co-own these production units. So we give them the technology to do that, and we give them the branding of Safi Organics. And once they have that, they are able to sell their product. So currently we are moving to our second pilot in Kisumu. That is the one that we are establishing right now. It would actually, it is functional, but not very functional, because with election in Kenya, sometimes we waste a year also trying to figure out the results of the elections. So we do anticipate that there will be no issues. So it will kind of start running fully in September. That is our projection. Up and beyond that, we have thought to ourselves, how do we go beyond Africa? Because with Kenya, with a very successful model, we are sure if we can replicate this across Africa. What about Asia? And this is a solution that can work anywhere. So what we did, we partnered with a team in India. This team, we have given them the technology, and they are producing now the very, very basic part of the fertilizer. And then we do field trials with them. And then we see the acceptability of the community there, because their use of fertilizer is a bit higher than what we have in Africa. So we are talking about India usage of fertilizer is about 200 kilograms per hectare, while a country like Kenya, which is one of the highest, has in Africa, has about 38 kilograms. So you can see the difference. So this is something that we are hoping that it will work out. We hope the planting season in India is starting in July. So we are actually putting this product into trial in India right now. Now, what gives us an advantage of that? Because India is very different from Kenya or any other African country, is that we are working with local community. We are not the ones who are doing it as in directly. So once we have proved that this can work, we can go ahead and do the rest of the business together. So that is the way we have approached it from our perspective. And that is easy way to do it, because it is really doesn't cost much, and it's very, very lean to start off. So as part of partners who we have worked with up to now, the main partners have been MIT University, which helped us develop the technology to do the hardware technology. We are working currently with Cornell University, both in the US. Cornell is helping us document the efficacy of our product in different farms. So we have trials that are ongoing, and we are doing a lot of data collection. And then we are hoping that by September, we'll publish a peer-reviewed article on the efficacy of our fertilizer. So other partners locally, we are working with Kilimo Trust. Kilimo Trust helps us get to the farmers because they have a very huge network of farmers, both in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. We are also working with the AgriCycle Plant Village. These are people, or these are organizations that are working with smallholder farmers. So we are able to reach these smallholder farmers through these organizations. So we are also working with Kenya Agricultural Livestock and Crop Research Organization, as well as the University of Egerton. We are working together with them. Also they are doing an efficacy trial, but now locally, which will also be published as a paper. So one of the things that we have seen is, if you want to be successful, partner with people, because you cannot do everything. Partner with people and get the right partners. Once with the right partners, you will always be a step ahead of everyone else. Up and beyond what we are doing, we are also very happy that recently we got nominated for the carbon removal program by Elon Musk. And we have achieved our first milestone, where we got about $1 million to keep or to fast track our work. So thank you very much. That's it about Safi Organics.
Thank you so much, Samuel. I think there's a lot of interesting things there. One of the most interesting things probably for our entrepreneurs that they're listening to is probably quite inspired. And just to go back to your plans for growth, very exciting that you've gotten that much deserved funding, and you're looking to grow and expand to other villages. If there's people here on the line who are interested in partnering with you, have you thought about perhaps partnering with other young and, intelligent entrepreneurs across Africa to get this into different countries?
Yes, that's definitely one of the ways that we are looking at it, because we cannot be everywhere. So at the end of the day, mainly for us who are here, for example, the ones who are here today dealing with organic fertilizer, it's only if this is something that would excite you, we can have this conversation, we take it forward, because we believe it's through people that will be in a position to establish Safi Organics across the continent. So at the end of the day, we are open to partnership and working with anyone who believes in our dream and who sees the potential in the work that we are doing.
I'd like to pass to Samuel, who might have some ideas for conversational questions. Samuel, Kabiru?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much, Samuel. Incredible, and it has always been listening to you. There is a question that was coming in on the chat in terms of whether we can actually shift to use fully organic fertilizer, or do we need to use some component of synthetic fertilizer? I don't know what you have to comment on that.
So in terms of whether we can go fully organic or not, number one, for our fertilizer, we use it as a standalone. So what we have really worked on is just to reduce the quantities that we are putting per hectare. So we are working every day to see if we can bring the quantities down to make it very affordable for the farmers. However, even compost itself, it's okay, we can use just compost in the farm. The only issue is we need to use about 4 tons of compost in the farm for it to supply all the nutrients. So what we need to do in terms of us who are in this sector and those who are in the academia is actually to bring the research together to see how can we increase the efficacy of the fertilizer so that we reduce the amount and we use less in the farm and still achieve equivalent or better results as the synthetic fertilizers. However, the biggest challenge actually is not about using the organic fertilizer. The biggest challenge currently is getting the organic pesticides to work with. So we have a few in the market, which happens to be expensive. But the problem is not for all the pests and diseases that are there. So what happens is that the farmer will, yes, get the organic fertilizer, but they're not able to control the pests and diseases. So at the end of the day, that is interfering with the adoption of the fertilizer because the farmer cannot really get the advantage or take advantage of the market, the high premium price, because they used chemicals to control pests and diseases.
I think this is a really exciting discussion, and just to share from something that I've observed, I led an entrepreneurship program in 2018 in Sri Lanka, and the government made a policy there to make everything organic right away without putting in any supports. And I think that's the kind of thing that we can't do. You can't just say you're going to be organic tomorrow. You need to, as a farmer and as a system, have these supports in place, have a company like Safi Organics, which is operating in your communities that you can trust, that you can go off of. And so to just say stop using inputs is a complete disaster. And so I don't think anybody on this call is advocating that kind of policy. But what we're looking towards is finding people who are making solutions that are working in their communities and more sustainable. I believe, Samuel, you might be able to tell us how your communities are actually doing in this environment where the fertilizer prices have doubled, how are your communities doing? Are they still able to provide the nutrients they need in their fields?
So in terms of whether our farmers are able to provide the nutrients needed, that's definitely a no, because they cannot afford the fertilizers. Already it was expensive. Now it is very, very expensive for them. So what we have seen this do, we have seen a surge in the demand of our product. So mainly during the planting season, we were actually behind schedule in production. Everything that you are producing was going to the market. It was just, we are producing and it is taken immediately. So at the end of the day, this is a relief to the farmers who we are working with and who are here because they feel fertilizers are extremely, extremely high. So that is something I know everybody who is a farmer is feeling the pain of the increase in the prices.
Oh, yes. And one more topic is, I think our next topic is about organic pest management. And there are some solutions, as you said, they might not be complete, but we're trying to elevate some of these local solutions that are coming up across Africa. And we now have started to include our South Asian cohort as well. And perhaps next week we'll see a few more of them join us. But we've got some technologies that are coming up. So it'll be exciting to see some of those as well. Samuel Kabiru, please.
Yes, there's a question that keep up cropping over and over again in terms of the price for the product. And maybe someone you can talk about how you compare that with the synthetic fertilizer. And while as you address that, the question on the challenges that you face, I know you are getting into a space where there are big boys, and especially when it comes to synthetic fertilizer. So how are you maneuvering that? And also in terms of policy, are there restrictions, especially in Kenya or even in India, where you want to get?
Okay, so perfect. In terms of price, one thing that I was taught when I started, we started at a very low price, which was really difficult for us to work with because of, yes, we were kind of breaking even, but the price was extremely low. So what we realized when we increased the prices, we have actually lost several customers. So I would always encourage any entrepreneur, when you're starting off, start with a high price. So then bring the price down as you gauge your demand until to that equilibrium. So currently, in terms of price, we are retailing it at about $25 per 50 kg bag. However, for us and in our marketing, we don't choose the price as a competitive edge because we realize the game of prices can change because we are playing with big companies, big multinationals. So what we say and what we tell the farmer is the value that they are getting from using our product. So we tell them for every acre of land, you'll be increasing, you'll be getting a 30% increase in yield. And this is data-based. It is not just a figure that we picked from somewhere. This is something that we did with 200 farmers. So when we tell the farmer that you'll get a 30% increase in yield, that was the average. So we are really very, very keen to tell the farmer the reality. So most of the time, we sell the value, not the price. The other thing that you asked is about the policies. Definitely with our product is completely new because it could not fall on the compost, it could not fall on the fertilizers, the synthetic fertilizers. So on the organic fertilizer standards, it was far much above, so it couldn't be certified as an organic fertilizer. But what happened at that time, though it took about a couple of years, about 2 years, we really got support from the government and we were allowed to develop our own standard for the fertilizer. So which we did develop and we did was accepted, and we did use our own standard. So mainly we use our own standard for the fertilizer because there is no unified standard that fit in our area. So this is something that we are lobbying for, because biochar usage in Kenya is very, very low. So this is something that we are lobbying for, that we have biochar as a soil amender be approved as a soil amender, not specifically as a fertilizer. So these are things that we are doing and lobbying together with people who are seeing the potential in this, people who are in government. So we are trying to push for this, to have it, to have a standard for the biochar and biochar products. So that might take time, definitely, but it will happen. That one we know. So the idea is always, if you cannot find the standard that you need, look at the way you can work with the local government or the national government to come up with a standard that suits you. But the easiest way to do is just look at where can I hook myself the easiest. Because, for example, when we went to the organic, we had codified everything for organic, except that the parameters were slightly higher above norm. So the other thing is we have always been very, very keen with following all the regulations that are dictated, because mostly for us, like in Kenya, fertilizer business, we have only 58 companies dealing with synthetic fertilizer. And out of the 58, we have only about 5, which are the major suppliers. So that is more or less a monopoly in itself. So what we have done, we ensure that we remain compliant to our standards. We are EcoCert certified. We are kept certified, that's the local government, and we are also working to get a local organic certification.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Samuel. And if you check on the chat, you'll see some reaction, and especially on the price aspect. So feel free to respond there. Perhaps we can give a few people to comment or to speak. Levis, I see your hand is up. Please be brief. We have 8 minutes, so just be brief. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm actually an advocate for biochar. It's really a good approach. I also like the fact that you are using a research approach. It's very good. So I just wanted to ask, what are the retention capabilities for your fertilizer? For instance, if farmer A is planting sorghum, which takes about, or cassava, which takes about 5 to 6 months, and farmer B plants maize, which takes about 3 months, will you supply this farmer with the same amount of fertilizer? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. In terms of the fertilizer and fertilizer usage, one thing I said, we have a soil testing service which guides us on that, but not every farmer will want to do a soil test. So we have a standard for the different crops. So for example, just to give an example, maize, which is not as, it's not very heavy feeder compared to something like sugarcane, we'll use different rates. And then in terms of application, because we have the planting and the top dressing fertilizer. So we work towards ensuring that the crop gets enough of what is recommended, or what is recommended as per the synthetic standard. So we tried and equate that amount for every crop. That's how we developed the amount of each crop, how much the farmer needs to apply. And this is actually even indicated on our bags. So we indicate it on the bags. So it's very easy for the farmers to refer.
Yeah, thanks Samuel for that. Chabi,
someone is
Yes,
asking
Samuel.
a very interesting question. Why do ban to get biochar? Why not just decompose? So why do we prefer to ban? Because that gives us the cutting edge. We are able to produce our fertilizers within 4 hours. So if we are composting, the best so far I've met is 2 weeks. So when you have to wait for 2 weeks to produce your compost, for us, we have produced enough for several farmers. So because we can do our fertilizer in a maximum of 4 hours. So that is the reason why we do the pyrolysis. And by the way, it is not burning because compared, we did with MIT, we did look at smoke emissions when we do burning and when we use our technology to do the pyrolysis. What we realized is that we are saving 95% of the emissions. So we are preventing 95% of the smoke from being released through pyrolysis. And currently with a new technology that we have, that we advanced, the one that we have advanced, we are actually having less than 1% of emissions. So this is something that gives us a very big advantage. So at the end of the day, and to some extent, composting contributes to about 1% of the global emissions. So we are trying to save on that.
Yeah.
Samuel, I muted you. I'm so sorry. I was trying to mute somebody else.
It's okay. Yeah, very good discussion. And I believe everybody is learning. Chabi, briefly, I see we have 4 minutes left. And Samuel, feel free to share your email. People are asking, can we partner with you?
Merci.
Where do we get your products? Yeah, so feel free to share your email on the chat as well. Chabi, briefly.
Merci. Alors, bon, moi, très brièvement, c'est de dire qu'au niveau de féliciter donc Samuel, vraiment, n'est-ce pas?
I want to congratulate Samuel for the job he's doing.
Contre les maladies. Donc, c'est vraiment une dame de
I can't hear him. I can't hear him.
We're not able to hear you. Nous ne pouvons pas écouter. Chabi. Chabi, if you can write your question. Joel, help me. Chabi, write your question. We cannot hear you. Okay. We might need to go to the next question.
Maestro, briefly. You're on mute if you're speaking.
Okay. Someone has asked, sometimes the fertilizer is too expensive or sounds to be too expensive. But one of the maths that you do with the farmers is very simple. For example, a rice farmer in Moya, on average, when they're using synthetic fertilizers, they spend about $150 total fertilizer cost. When they're using our fertilizer, they spend about $140. So it's about very little difference in terms of what they are spending. So whenever they tell us, now this is expensive, we tell them, normally they'll harvest about 24 bags in an acre of land. So we tell them, what if you'd increase 3 bags of fertilizer? What advantage would that one have for you? So they'll harvest about 27. The 3 bags increase, that is equivalent to 21,000. So this 21,000, they'll get it up and above the fertilizer cost because they'll not be changing mainly on the way they produce in terms of the cost. So that is why I said we sell the value, not the price tag. So at the end of the day, we are in a position to help farmers because at the end of the day, they have saved on their fertilizer costs and they at least have a profit from the yield that they are getting up and above.
Thank you, Samuel. I see we are on top of the hour. I don't know, Amanda, back to you.
Yes, I do see we're on the top of the hour as well. So I have been taking notes. We have been recording. So folks, I'm going to put this in the chat right now. I'd like you to open it up. If you're a part of our Mighty Networks group, you should be able to go straight to this section. And if you are not, I'm going to in a second put another link in the chat box so you can join our Mighty Networks and continue the conversation. I wonder, Samuel, if we would want to recognize Samuel Rigu. I'd also want to invite you, Samuel. I mean, thanks so much for joining us for this hour. I recently let Will Anderson know, who's our comms person. We'd really love to highlight you in some upcoming stories. If we can, any more publicity or connections can help you grow. And I also let Looney Leves know of your recent success with the $1 million from the Elon Musk. And as you know, Looney has a lot of networking powers, and I just suggested to him that maybe, he has an investment holding company called Africa Eats with 30 companies across Africa doing food. And if there's any demand for, fertilizers, then they might want to discuss with you on some partnerships. So if any of that's useful, please follow up with me and Samuel Kabiru afterwards. But we just want to keep you coming back to the network to do what we can, because we realize that this is a very important topic that you're being a part of the solution today. I see we've got Samuel's email address put into the chat box right now. So if anyone wants to follow up perhaps with you, Samuel, they can. I don't know, you probably have a larger team by now. So if you're able to, get anybody together, if there's any way that we can help you, follow up with us via WhatsApp. If we want to do a smaller meeting with potential partners, anything you think would be helpful. We just want to help you. And we also want to thank you for opening our eyes to your journey. A lot of the perceptions that you've helped change so far in Kenya, and a lot of folks on the line who are in the same field, solving the same problems. And next Thursday, we will be, for everybody who wants to join us, we will be focusing on organic pest management solutions so that you can see some of the different options that are bubbling up from across Africa and India. So we hope you'll join us on Thursdays as well. So those are my announcements. And Samuel Kabiru, you're much better at doing official closeouts than me, so I'm passing it back to you.
Yeah, we have all learned. Yes, we have actually all learned something today. So thank you so much, Samuel. And we'll definitely connect with you. Samuel, your final words, and then we call it a day.
Thank you so much for this. And one of the things that I'll say to the entrepreneurs who are here today, whatever you're doing is the most important thing and guarantees the future generation a space on this earth. So do not stop it, keep doing it. And definitely we can look for synergies and work together. Or if we work together, we will go far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel. And thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. See you on Tuesday. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.